Ric Flair drip.
Woo! So we were chit-chatting right before we started recording here about Martin Maldonado, who, for those uninitiated, he is the starting catcher for the Houston Asterisks.
Asterisks.
Yeah.
Assholes.
Yeah. So the crazy thing about him is that in game one, he used a illegal bat. Now a bat that was legal at one time, but for him to use, and it was one of those cases where it was still legal if you'd been playing 2010 and prior in the major leagues, and he had started in 2011. But this bat was given to him by Albert Pujols. He uses it in game one, drives in a run with it, and then we find out through the national broadcasters yesterday that this bat was illegal, could not have been used, and basically he got told by Major League Baseball that nope, you can't use this anymore, and that was the extent of it. So what's your take on that whole mess?
Just more cheaters cheating, because that's what cheaters do. They don't change their stripes. They just continue to cheat and cheat and cheat until somehow they get a stop put to it. Much like Tom Brady and the Patriots, who continued to cheat and cheat and cheat because they were enabled by the NFL. The Astros are continuing to cheat and cheat and cheat and being enabled by MLB.
Yeah. And for the life of me, I can't figure this out. So you want to find a good series, I guess, to pull ratings. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't know what the Braves and Astros pulled last year. I'm sure it was okay. But comparatively to years past, I don't know. And that's not a knock on the Braves at all. That's, to me, should be more of a knock on the Astros. The fact that they've been in it for so many years now is kind of getting, you're exactly right. It's getting that stomach sickness New England Patriot feeling.
Right.
And we can get into some of the other things that have transpired just in the last couple of games with their supposed, the spider tack stuff. The stuff where the umpires check the hands every time, and it's like the guy's caught on video doing something, rubbing his hands there. And I'm not saying the guy's a phenomenal pitcher anyway, but in crunch time, is he doing something to make himself even a little better? It wouldn't shock me. They've done trash cans and all sorts of stuff in the past, so why not that?
Right. I mean, and honestly, I don't think that he I don't think he was doing anything wrong, really, but they've got to he needs to stop going from his hand to his hat to wherever and then changing the glove and doing all this stuff. It's just so many little things that, at this point, you've lost the benefit of the doubt,
right?
Regardless of whether it's harmless or not. And I truly don't think he was doing anything. I think he's a good pitcher. He did what good pitchers do, and he, took care of us. But at the same time, you haven't earned that. You haven't earned that benefit of the doubt from me, based on your past history. At this point, you have shown time and time again, or at least your team has shown time and time again, that they're willing to do anything that it takes to win, including cheat. And so at this point, I don't know, you're kind of guilty until proven innocent, as fucked as that is. But your team has done it time and time again. So I don't trust you. I'm not going to say if we go on and lose this series, I'm not going to point at that and say, well, that's what cost the series. But at the same time, where there's smoke, there's fire 9 times out of 10.
Right. Exactly. And like you said, they erase the benefit of the doubt. They've already done that to themselves. And, anytime you have a lot of different eyes on you now, and it's not just, conspiracy theorist Philly fans. You have the eyes of, 10 million viewers or whatever it is. And, they know your history of cheating. There's people that are obviously watching the series that aren't fans of either team, but they love baseball,
right.
And my whole, goes back to my whole thing with the baseball bat thing. It's like, it was a slap on the wrist. Like you said, Major League Baseball keeps enabling it. And it's like, look, the guy, I don't know. What's the punishment? Suspension for a day? I don't know. But he got nothing. Absolutely nothing. The run wasn't taken away. That run's not scored. There's no extra innings.
Right.
I, I don't know. All right.
I you know, at this point, I'm just let's. I just want to see them lose. The Astros, obviously, that is.
Yeah.
Um, just let's end all this crap. Let's just be done with it, man, and let's move on to the next. Let's move on to the next step, which is the Phillies winning 3 games in Philly, and it's that's what I'm just hoping for. Is we've got a raucous crowd. The Eagles took care of business today. You know, the Steelers went down and not particularly. They It started off a lot rougher than I would have liked it to, but it it ended up being okay. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and hopefully the Phillies follow suit and take care of business. And next time we record, we're talking about. Well, I don't know when we're going to record next, but we're talking about a few more games in the bag, a few more wins in the bag, and hopefully I don't even want to say the other words, but
No. It's crazy to me. The last 2 series they lost game 2, right, on both
right,
Braves and the Padres, and both times it was end of the world, oh no type deal. Look, cheating aside, Astros have a phenomenal team, and I'm not going to sit there and pretend that they don't. There's a reason. There's still completely valid reasons why they've won over 100 games this season. Um, pitching's good, whatever. For whatever reason, Justin Verlander can't find his head in any World Series game ever. But they do have solid their side lineup solid all the way around, and they do
right.
have good depth that way. But they have no idea what they're walking into tomorrow
Oh no,
at all.
no. I don't think anyone does, quite frankly. I don't think even the national broadcasters can put their worst spin on it, what they think it's going to be, and I think it's going to be magnitudes worse, and I mean that in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Philly fans are going to, number one, look, after so many years of not being in the playoffs, to go straight to the World Series, that is big enough to get our fans riled up.
Oh yeah, because even in the previous run, the 08 team wins it all, but I think a lot of people forget that they had made the playoffs in 07.
Right.
They just didn't get out of the first round.
Right. The Rockies took us out in the first
Right.
round.
And it was that whole, Jimmy Rollins and the whole, there's 7 games down with 17 left to play to the Mets, and that whole was a good boost. But the minute they got in the playoffs, they just wiped right out.
Right.
And then they just go on that insane tear in 08, and then they continue their success and really through 11, but obviously not the same kind of success in the playoffs.
Right.
This time, there was no warning. This was just straight shot right to the World Series. So I think we all knew this in the offseason whenever they decided to sign Schwarber and Castellanos, and you had made a deadline move for Thor and some other moves that kind of put this all into motion. I don't still think we realized that there's going to be a World Series involved. So
No, and honestly, anybody that told you that it would be, that they knew it was going to be, like, look, I can't say too much because I've said that before. I've made that claim before, and I can genuinely say that when I said that, this is, I said that this was going to happen, I genuinely did. 93, when we swept the Astros to open the series, I said we're going to go to the or to open the season. I said we're going to go to the World Series. We went to the World Series. When we beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, I went even further. I bought tickets. I bought airline tickets. I booked a hotel. I was all in. I said, yeah, we're going to win this Super Bowl. And I said it to you and Danielle how many weeks ago? I said, this has that same 2017 feel. I said, we're going to win this. I still have faith that we're going to win it. But
Yeah.
I didn't believe, like I wasn't saying that, 2 months ago. I wasn't saying that at the beginning of the season. Matter of fact, we did a whole show talking shit on John Middleton.
Yeah. Well,
I
it was,
didn't do
and it was
much.
before he started really making those moves.
Yeah.
But even then, I think we both kind of knew that they were going to be an over 500 team. I think we both kind of settled on them maybe hitting a low end wild card spot if they were going to make the playoffs. But I think that's where we stopped. I don't know exactly. I have to listen back, but I know for
I
a
think we
fact that we
both
didn't.
said wild card.
Yeah, and I know for a fact they probably weren't ever going to get out in the first round.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where I was thinking. I thought that too, but
Yeah, I'm fairly certain we both said wild card, but it's but they've shattered our expectations. They have played out of their minds baseball. They're never, they're never out of it. You never, until that final out. I never think, oh well, they're screwed.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
no,
they're just resilient as hell. They never quit, and it's exciting. It's good to have excitement around baseball again for Philly,
hmm
because look, man, you know me. I'm wearing a fucking Eagles shirt right now. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I love the Flyers. The Phillies were my first love, and Philadelphia, as awesome of a football city, as awesome as of a hockey city, a basketball city it is, there's something special about when the Phillies are good
oh
and when
yeah,
the Phillies are contending, you know? And so to see the Phillies sell out the home bank, or the home park, sell out the bank, have all the people all over the place talking about the Phillies, talking about, you know, just the excitement around the team. It's just something special. And God, I wish I was home for it. I really
oh
wish I
yeah,
was home.
no, me too, man. And for as long as you've known me, man, that's one thing. Like I've always had a Phillies hat on my head.
Yeah.
Always. I mean, other rare occasions I hadn't, but it was funny. I was going through like my closet yesterday to try to find I had one from '09 World Series, and I don't know if I bought the wrong size then, or my head got bigger.
You got
But
more hair, man. That's what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. But it doesn't fit. But it worked yesterday. We dressed up for a Halloween party in the Phillies garb. So it worked out for Danielle having a World Series hat. But
There you go.
no, we're excited, and look, I've said this more than once, and to whoever, but it's been, like you said, a lot of fun, and no matter which way this thing goes, I'm super excited moving forward, because this could have gone the other direction, where they completely missed the playoffs, and then it's like, are you in the mode to? I knew they're kind of all in on spending money now, but after you spend all that money on Schwarber and Castellanos, who's vastly underperformed, and you've got the Harper, big Harper contract and JT and all that. It's like, not that I was worried about a fire sale, obviously, but it's like, well, what are you going to do next? Because
Right.
you've already have a ton of money into this, so it could have gone really south.
What's the encore?
Right. So here we go.
And what we got to look at too, like let's be honest. Let's look a little bit into the future here. So, say they don't say, things don't go the way we want it to. We're going to be without Harper, dependent upon what the prognosis is now. We could be without Harper for a good portion of next season or all of next season, depending
Yeah.
upon if he ends up having to get the TJ surgery. If he gets Tommy John, he's likely out until, especially with the extended postseason. If he would have gotten, if they knew they weren't making the playoffs, and then he's like, you know what, all right, I'm going to shut it down a little bit early. We'll get the surgery done. We'll start the rehab and everything. Then you have him he'd have missed a portion of the season, but he'd have been back at some point.
Right.
We've pushed all the chips into the middle of the table on this one, hoping that he's gonna, that we'll win it, and then that it would take the sting out of not having him.
Right. And I think that's a good precursor to a off-season show that you and I can come up with, and just talk kind of more individually on the big stars and what it looks like moving forward. chances of sticking with the team. Obviously, the ones that don't have large contracts, or I know you and I have talked about JT to a big obvious different points throughout this year. So I think it'd be fun to kind of revisit after this whole thing's said and done.
Hey, and before we even get to that, I will fully admit that I was wrong. I was wrong on JT Realmuto. I apologize, JT. You are the man. You've definitely proven me wrong, and I appreciate that you've proven me wrong. So I think Logan O'Hoppy's doing pretty well out, or did pretty well out in Anaheim, but still.
Yeah, that was my understanding too. I think he's going to be something special. I certainly don't think you're wrong about him.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's get off the baseball stuff. You had texted us this week, and it kind of went back to a conversation you and I had, about a year ago or so now on here. But go ahead, man. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So what about that?
So first of all, how many Modern Warfare 2s have there been at this point? I think we're up to like 8. So I don't know. They need to figure out their naming conventions. They need to figure something else out. Or maybe, hey, here's a wild idea. Maybe just stop making it because it kind of sucks now. Although from the commercials, the storyline in this one seems kind of cool, but I digress. I haven't played a Call of Duty game in a long ass time, and I don't intend to start now, especially after the bullshit they pulled. So, we've talked multiple times, you, me, Richie. We've talked about physical media, the need to preserve media, the need to preserve gaming history. We talked at length about limited run games and strictly limited, and what they provide. Even though it took Richie did actually get his Scott Pilgrim stuff in the mail the other day. And the funniest thing about the whole thing is, back when it first started shipping, I didn't realize it. I thought he had gotten the special edition that comes in like a record player box and it has a diorama and it plays music from the game and stuff. No, he got the same fucking edition that I got. The holdup was literally just the record, but I had the edition, or have the edition that he had been waiting on. So I just think that's fucking funny that I got mine back in May, and he's been waiting this whole fucking time for the same thing.
Yeah, because he just got it this week, and he had ordered it. What did he say? January of 2021.
Yeah, it was January 2021 because that's when I ordered mine.
Yeah,
and so that one, so now I'm the longest reigning right now, current with. I ordered one in November of 2021, and it still hasn't come in. So that's
creeping up on a year. Yeah, no, that's fine. I remember when you had sent that to me too, and I thought about it and was like, Christmas stuff, whatever.
But
yeah.
But so getting back to the main crux of the issue here. So what Activision Blizzard did in their infinite wisdom was, instead of putting the game on the disc and shipping it that way, or putting the majority of the game on the disc and shipping it that way, or doing anything really of note with the disc, they put like what amounts to a product key onto the disc, shipped that, and then you have to download 150 gigs of data to play the game.
Which is, look, that's a whole nother conversation right there too. Let's just take that little context. 150 gigs, which okay, so let's look at different sides of this here. So the opticals that they're throwing that on, you and I both know, currently will not hold that amount of data. Right. Correct? So that's probably their rationale for that, for them to save money and stop, or putting on multiple opticals to do the 150. However, my big issue with that is, like, people like myself who run, Comcast Xfinity, which is, a pretty large provider in our country, at least, for internet. They still hold, they will still cap you for the amount of data. So the last I checked, and I could be wrong, but the cap was at 1.2 terabytes. So if I went and just downloaded that entire game, I'm using, a good chunk, close to 10% of my cap for that month off of one game.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
Um,
and that's just not acceptable. And not only that, but think about this, man. All right, Christmas morning, right? How many people are going to be getting games? How slow
oh,
are those servers going to be running?
ain't
Trying
no
to get
telling.
that shit.
Ain't no telling.
So Christmas morning, your kid opens up, and granted, they're playing Modern Warfare. They're probably not a kid, but that still ruins. That could ruin a Christmas, you know. Or no, I don't, you know. All right, I take that back. That's hyperbole. But still, when you get a new game, you want to be able to pop it in and play. You don't want to have to wait inside because I have relatively fast internet where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I could download that. I could set that up to download maybe 45 minutes an hour, hour and a half tops, right? If that. And maybe I'm exaggerating the time that it would take. Maybe less time than that. I don't really know because it's been a while since I've had to download anything like that. But who wants to wait that amount of time to play a game? Now I get, say, okay, we know that the disc can't hold 150 gigs. We both know that.
Right.
But they've made such leaps and bounds with multiple layer optical at this point, 4K Blu-rays, that the Xbox Series X and I believe the PS5 can do 4K, right?
Yes.
4K discs. So you've got technology out there that can help cut that down. If you're going through all the trouble and making all the waste of making these discs, go the extra mile. You're already charging us $70 instead of $60. Go the extra mile. Actually put some data on the disc and save us having to wait so long to download. And also for the preservation aspect of it, make it at least a playable version. Like even if it's just the single player that's on the disc, put the single player campaign on the disc and put the multiplayer, have the multiplayer be downloaded or do something of that nature. Just do anything other than ship essentially a product key on a disc because that's just a fucking waste.
Exactly. And the other thing too, and here's the other thing with that amount. And I'm just going to kind of use this as kind of as an example. Like PS5 for frame of reference, internally has 666.2 gigs free for games. Do the quick math on that, and 150 out of 667 takes up a pretty sizable amount. The system files for the PS5 is about 150 gigs. So you have a game here that once you download it and install it, it's basically roughly taking up the same as your OS.
Right.
I don't know. It's mind-boggling.
It really is. And I understand, and just like you understand that, as the games get more complex, as, textures get more complex, the data size is going to go up. It's just how it works. But at the same time, you've got to be able to do something. Either A, these game companies need to start figuring out a better way of compressing it. The console makers need to start eating some of the cost of storage, or there's got to be another solution because and I don't want to hear streaming because streaming gets right back to the data issue.
Yeah, not only that, we can also talk about how the Google Stadia just completely shut down and has having to refund every single customer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think was it Nvidia? I think might be in the same boat. Maybe not toward that level yet, but yeah. So we've had a case or two there where that's just not working.
Right.
But the thing, I think the thing that's more outside of the data issue itself, and I've been trying to look like here we go. So the Ultra HD Blu-ray for the PS5,
mm-hmm.
It looks like those things max at 100 gigs a disc. So there you go.
Okay.
So that I knew it was somewhere in the 50 to 100 range. I just didn't exactly know where. Actually quite hard to find too because it keeps pointing it to the system storage. But anyway, about a year ago we talked about the Intellivision Amico and the that thing we talked about at different levels at different times because it was kind of in and out of the news for different reasons. But in a similar vein, games were to be sold in a, hey, here's a nice cool box, here's some art. But at the end of the day, you end up with a code that you could download the game. There was no physical media at all, at least not one that you could pop into your system. And if I'm going on my way to order something online, whether it be through Amazon, game website, whatever, go to the store to buy something, I fully expect there to be the game in the box. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is the same case with the Call of Duty stuff, I see how that is absolutely no different than, Tommy Tallarico telling people, buy my code.
Right. No, absolutely. It's the exact same fucking thing. It's just from a bigger publisher. And it's a AAA title, which double shame on them for pulling that shit. Because you have a built-in fan base that's going to be out there snapping that shit up on day one. And then when they get that shit home and they get hit with a 150 gig download, or, God forbid. And this is what, and I keep going back to kids. And that's not exactly maybe the right group for this particular game. Unless you happen to play online and you hear all the little squeaky voiced teens playing. But like these kids don't have they rely on their parents for the internet, right? And the parents in some cases, luckily for our kids, we know what's going on with tech. We know, and I feel like it's starting to change where like most people are somewhat familiar, but people sign up for these data plans or whatever, and they don't know. Some people, especially now, like down here, it's widespread because Comcast is out, like, and they're saying until 2023 for some people down here.
Mm-hmm.
They have no internet, so they're going to T-Mobile, they're going to Verizon, and they're getting those little hotspot boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you try to play that shit to download it over a fucking hotspot box?
No, it would, and most of those things, and that still to this day, are going to be pulling at like 4G LTE speeds.
Right.
People can talk about how fast 5G can be. Look, in my experience, I have not seen it. Again, look, I don't live in a major city, but we do have it around here. And more often than not, my download speed is actually slower when I connect to 5G comparative to 4G. In that same sense, though, you're talking maybe at optimal speeds, 20-25 megs download. Dude. And that's optimal, and that's hoping that their servers on their end are not, being bogged down.
Right, which right now, at launch, it's going to be getting bogged down. It's just it just is. There's no two ways about it. And so you're essentially screwing over these people that are buying your product, that are giving you all this money to give them a fucking registration key on a disc. And it's just insane to me that you can't figure out a better way to do this. Even if you need it, even if, and I understand that more discs equals more money, but at this point, you need to offer that as an option. If you're not, what the fuck is the point of even offering a disc? Cut that shit in half, the price, sell it digital only.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's literally no reason for a $70 game that is strictly a download.
Right. And, here, and I think that's a great point. So that's funny. I was looking at No Man's Sky. I saw it got a release on the Switch. And the first thing I was looking for was physical. And nowhere to be found at all. Digital release only. So I was like, oh, cool. This would be like $20. This would be cheap. $60. And it's like, no. I'm not doing that, particularly for a game that's been up for a long time and has had physical releases over the years where it has been, even physical releases of like $30 a game. Like, it's just not one of those that's, and it's like, how in the world did you port that to a system that, for one, I would say that it probably will run okay, But after hearing the gaffes of like the Skyrim Anniversary Edition on the Switch, how poorly that ran, I just can't imagine sinking $60 into a game that's a download only that may or may not work right.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I can't, if you're going to bring out a full retail price game and you're not going to release it physically, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not doing it. I'll buy it maybe if it's on sale for $5, $10.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the only time I ever buy digital, is if it's so significantly cheaper that I'm like, yeah, or it's something I know 100% that I'll just play. But none of the you buy a box and there's nothing in it, and nothing that's the cloud, like the cloud versions for the Switch. No thanks. If it's available on physical media on a different system, sorry, that's the system I'm buying it for. I'm not buying it to plug a cartridge into my system and then have to download it, like play it on another system from my system.
Right.
I'm not doing it. And it's like, so the difference being, so with Turtles, with Shredder's Revenge. So I've noticed, and I don't do this often, but I've noticed that Shredder's Revenge is apparently fairly rare, the American version of it. So I ordered Shredder's Revenge, and when it comes in, I'm going to buy the digital version, and I'm going to play the digital version, and I'm going to save that one. But I'm also going to wait until the digital version is on sale for like $10 or something like that.
Right.
And once it goes on sale for $10, then I'll do that. And then I'm going to hold on to my, because I'm being a goblin about it, But but I figured, hey, look, I already see the prices. I've been using, I've been tracking my collection, not for pricing, but for my own organizational purposes. I started using pricecharting.com. And so I went in and I entered all of the games that I have, because I'm also I'm in the process of moving, as everyone well knows at this point. And if I want to make sure that I don't lose anything, and if I do lose anything, I want to know, okay, this is what it was, and now I've got everything.
That's good for insurance purposes too.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm thinking too. Is I've got all my systems in there. I've got everything, loaded up, so I have all my information in one place. And but I noticed on on pricecharting.com that Turtles Shredder's Revenge is already selling for like $50, brand new, and it came out at I think 35. So I'm gonna snag a copy and put it aside. Oh, I've snagged a copy. I'm just waiting for it to come in, putting it aside, and I'm going to download the digital version. But the only reason I'm doing that, I have a purpose behind it. It's not like, oh, hey, look, the new Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope came out. Let me snag that up on fucking digital for the same price that I could pay physical for a cartridge.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, I definitely agree. And any time I've tried to get a Switch title, obviously I do pay for the service, so I think that's different. But I try to get the physicals as best I can anyway. I've actually gotten worse with it with other media, but I think it's because at times other media is hard to come across. Movies, for example, or the digital gets released so much earlier, and I just can't wait. Clerks 3 being a good example. Let's say it released close to the same time, even within 2 weeks of each other, which is not the case. I don't think physical gets until December.
Yeah,
I still would have bought the digital first.
Yeah,
because I just couldn't wait to see it.
Right.
But I think that's probably the worst one. Well, music I've really gotten away from. I do strictly streaming services now, or streaming service. But I've done that for a long, long time. But a lot of it though is still my own collection that I have. My own MP3s, but it's weird. Some stuff that I've ripped from CDs. I still have a pretty extensive CD collection, but not like I near used to. And I'm not running out to the store, because for one, it's hard to find.
Right.
Unless I'm now like digging through stuff that like I've listened to or had or missed, or stuff that came out within the last 20 years. There's physical copies of it around, but then trying to find one is so god awful expensive that because I found this really cool remix album or this really cool beta versions or whatever. And there is no physical album, or if there is, it was limited to like, oh yeah, here's 500 presses on vinyl. Like, I'm never gonna see one of those,
Right.
So,
Well, and I'll agree with you on that, because that was a hill that I was willing to die on back in the early, like in the 2000s, and even into the 2010s. Physical media, I would never, if there was a band that released a CD or an album, I was buying the album. I'll be damned if I may buy the album, rip it to CD, throw it on my iPad or iPod and whatever, and then never touch a CD again. But I've gotten to the point now where almost every single car I've had over the past few years, with the exception of when I went back in time and bought cars from the early 2000s, I had a way to play my music digitally, and actually two of my last three cars didn't even have CD players in them.
Mm-hmm.
It was either you're playing streaming somehow, or you're listening to the radio, or like XM, Sirius XM.
Right.
So that's the one, because functionally it no longer became important to me to have the actual music. And my record player got destroyed. So I had no way to listen to vinyl at that point. So that's the one area where I've gone, you know what, screw it. And I buy stuff on iTunes. I actually pay for my music. I'm fucking weird, I know. But I buy songs, and like I just bought not too long ago. I bought Dancing on My Own.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought Cold Heart. So, because I got to have my Phillies songs.
Yeah, of course.
So I bought them. But am I going to go hunt down the album? No.
Right. No, and it's funny. Speaking of the streaming service stuff, though, because I've used YouTube Music, which formerly was known as Google Play Music. I've used it for a long time. So they're getting a price increase. The YouTube Premium stuff, which rolls into that, is right now at $14.99 a month, which has been that way for a long time. Well, come April, if you're a current subscriber, and I don't know how many people are this would affect, because I got a specific email about it. It goes up to $22.99 a month. So you're talking, $8 increase a month on it. And what it does is obviously is, YouTube with no ads, but then you can have up to 5 accounts with, similar to Spotify, whatever, for the music service. And my guess is if you're new or, relatively new to it, they're going to jump that price in January. Well, I got this nice email saying, you've been a long time subscriber. We're not going to do the price raise for you for another 4 months. And it's like, great. Thanks for the $32 for my decade of loyalty.
Well, see, it's interesting you say that too, because I didn't even realize that it's going up, and I was trying to think of which streaming services I'm going to get rid of, because I need to save some money, and I've got pretty much everything except for the YouTube TV, which I steal from you, which they told me, by the way, the other day, that I only have so many days left that I'm allowed to, since I'm not in your zip code.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all
Not
good.
bad.
It's not your fault. You let me watch free TV. I got nothing bad to say about you. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to stop stealing your YouTube TV for a little bit, I guess, because I told him I was here on vacation.
Oh, you know what? It does ask you. That makes sense, because that whenever I have to, there's like a primary account. Every other account I have is like a secondary. You have to have one primary.
Yeah.
So it's mine, and I have to tell it like what region I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, Paducah, Cape Girardeau, and something else for me. So that makes sense. Yeah, because you get locals. That's why.
Yeah.
And I figured I know Netflix has done certain things with it too. I'm sure other services have ways of going around that. I mean, I only even have it because we scrapped regular TV a long time ago. And so I was like, okay, I got sick and tired of paying over $200 a month for friggin' Comcast. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, YouTube TV, $65 a month at the time or whatever it was. Perfect. And even then it was like, got all these other streaming services and I still wasn't hitting my over what I was paying. It was nuts. It was absolutely insane. And I think right now my internet bill is like, because I get discounts through being with where our kids go to school and whatnot. I think I pay like $25 a month for like 600 or 800 megs. It's some stupid number that I don't need. It's ridiculous. But then I add up all the other stuff. You know what I mean? And it kind of washes out. Yeah, no, it's crazy. I figured price increases were coming here and there for certain things, but going back to that whole conversation too, I do the same thing probably more often than I should with movies, because like I said with the Clerks example, but I have a tendency to like want to find something that I know I have on DVD, but I'm too lazy to find. And so it's like, it's not on streaming, but I can buy the digital. And I'm like, I already have it on DVD somewhere. I just might as well buy the digital. It's only $10. That's lazy. You know what I mean? But I do it anyway. I've done that more than once. But then here's the funny thing. I'm sure you've realized this too. I'll watch the digital and like, I'll be like, that scene wasn't in that one. That scene's not in. I know this movie and it's a different cut.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, then it makes me mad. And then I have to go find my one I like.
Exactly. Well, and we talked about that with there's an episode of Scrubs that I was watching on Netflix, and specifically uses the song "If I Had $1 Million" by Bare Naked Ladies, and they lost the streaming or they lost the rights to it, and they replaced it with a generic song. And we talked about it with ECW doing the same, where ECW never licensed any of their music; they would just fucking play it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Paul was an asshole, and they would just play it. But then when they released it on VHS, because there was no DVD at the time, kids, when they released it on VHS, it was all dubbed over with generic shit. And so it's just, that's another reason why I'm such a huge proponent of physical media, is because of things like rights expiring and stuff like that. You remember certain things certain ways, and even if we look at, so let's look at something that's come out recently that I absolutely love. And matter of fact, I may actually, next time you see me, I may be clean shaven, because I'm like 800 million other people in America tomorrow. I will be dressed as Eddie Munson from Stranger Things. So the Duffer Brothers, who directed and are the men behind Stranger Things, they've said that they constantly tinker with the show. So if you bought season 1 on Blu-ray, like I did,
Mm-hmm.
you go back and you watch it now on Netflix, and you were to watch them side by side, you would see differences in it, because they're constantly tinkering with stuff on the. And
that's crazy. It's like Wikipedia,
right? So at this point, what you remember may be different than what's actually there if you go to stream it. And so I prefer to have a constant. I don't want to go back and have things changed. Like, I went out of my way, because you can't try and find one day a legal way to watch the original theatrical cut of Star Wars. I know you don't like Star Wars, but you can't find it. Not
right?
A legal way to watch it. You literally have to own the DVDs or VHS from back in the day. So I went on eBay. Probably like a year and a half ago, and I bought the original cuts, because I wanted to show Peyton the original cut without all the extra bullshit that George Lucas went back and changed. And it's going to get more and more like that as the artists have the ability to go back and change things retroactively. Like, oh yeah, it released like that in a theater, but I don't really like that, so I'm going to go back and change it.
Right. Yeah, and that's it's tough. Part of me loves the how things can be very fluid, and things can be constantly changed. I love that sort of thing with certain things, but things that are like works of art. Look, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but the original Star Wars trilogy is a work of art. To go back and change that is like painting sunglasses on the Mona Lisa.
Right.
Or maybe not that to that level, but maybe changing the shading or maybe the smile off a little bit. Like it just makes it different enough to where it's unsettling. You know, I think that's why I made the comment about, watching like a digital cut of a movie that that wasn't even necessarily the director's cut. It was just, hey, I bought this movie on digital only. I threw it out to watch it, and it's like I don't remember these 3 scenes at all, and I know I've seen this movie 50 times, and it's unnerving and it bothers me, and that's the part I don't like about it. It's like I want to watch it the way I remember it, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it gets to that point too. If you think about it, game companies are getting back to our original topic here. Game companies are guilty of that too. Think about how many different patches come out, and different nerfs to weapons or different nerfs to different things, and different enhancements that they put in. Now, granted, some of it is to fix bugs in the game and that kind of stuff, which is great because, I mean, I know that we've both had an experience where we've played a game on Nintendo or Super Nintendo or Genesis or whatever before patches were available, where you would get to something and the game would freeze or lock up or something because of something stupid we decided to do, right? So now it's as easy as putting up a day one patch or putting out a patch here or there, right? And it fixes it, makes the game playable again. But what we're seeing is, these artists, these game developers can go back and just constantly change little bits and pieces, and it can get to the point where it changes your experience from someone who first plays the game a year from now or 2 years from now, and also, again, getting back to the original topic, when you have a game like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 that comes out as just a product key on a disc, you're going to have a generation that eventually say you really love that game, or Tommy really loved that game. He was, for some reason, you let him play it and he really loved it. And then 20 years down the line, he's like, oh, let me show my kids. And he goes to show his kids. Oh, well, the server's gone, so can't show that game anymore.
Nope.
It's really an issue for preservation.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. That's the one crazy thing to me is that I think part of it's because that's all we've known up to really the last. I think we could kind of all see where it was going. I made the comment before about Google Stadia, and I think, and I will have to dig in deeper, but I know Nvidia, I believe, was having some issues with their stuff as well. But they had where it's like, hey, look, we can stream music, we can stream movies, let's stream video games, and it's worked to a point. If you think about it in terms of, hey, let's hop online and play Mario Kart together, let's play this game together, let's do this, because it's in the same world that we've dealt with for years with LAN parties and that sort of thing. Really, that part hasn't changed a whole lot. It just went worldwide. I can play my friend in Japan in Mario Kart where I couldn't before. I think that aspect of it's cool. But the minute that you take the entire product online, unlike a movie or unlike a game or unlike a music property, man, that whole dynamic changes. Because it's like you said, hey, this whole thing now is available online. That's it. I can't buy the disc. I can't buy a cartridge. I can't do anything with it. Server goes out. What's Google Stadia having to do? Granted, a lot of their games were stuff that you could buy for other systems, but I'm sure there was something there. There had to be something there that was their own deal that you could only play on that thing. Well, it's gone after February. But let's close up one thing that you and I had talked about before we started recording here. With this, well, yeah, that too, obviously. Well, I mean, we already talked about the Astros.
Yeah, that's true. Did Danielle just chant "dirty
Yeah,
cheaters"?
yes, she did.
Nice.
She had the dive bomb. The Activision Blizzard has been in the works since mid or late last year. Was it about that time?
Yeah.
To be purchased by Microsoft, which we can get into different things about. But this has gone on for quite a long time now, and this deal isn't done yet.
No.
Most likely it'll get done. I can't see Microsoft not getting a deal done. That just seems to be not what they do.
Well, I mean, the problem is with as with everything else in life, is the governments are getting involved, and different government agencies are trying to clamp down on monopolies and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, Sony's not happy about what they're hearing out of the Microsoft camp about their exclusivity deals with Call of Duty and such, and so they're trying to step in the way of the merger. And so what we're hearing is I want to call it by the right name. So it's the UK's Competitions and Markets Authority is stepping in, and they're most recently they ordered Meta to sell Giphy, which is it's a GIF library, and they deemed that Meta owning it is anti-competitive. So if they're willing to force Meta, who is Facebook and countless other fucking things, to sell a GIF library,
yeah,
and now they're concerned about this, I'm a little bit concerned about this going through.
Which is actually kind of ironic because Meta was one of the companies looking to buy Activision Blizzard. So take that for what it's worth. I just think that's funny. But that leads me to my next thing. So let's say, and again, I highly doubt this happens, but let's say for whatever reason this deal falls through and Activision Blizzard has had its bumps and bruises with some workplace environment and harassment and you name it stuff. So it's not like they're a clean company, but let's say this deal falls through. Who goes after them? Because obviously if Microsoft can't buy them, I don't think Sony can buy them.
I think Sony might try. They might try.
Might try, but
I
just don't see if the Microsoft deal fell through. I don't know that Sony picks them up or is able to.
You wouldn't think so, but I would never put anything past them. What I could see potentially happening is a company like Disney or a company like Nintendo maybe picking them up, because I feel like Nintendo's never been the one that goes around and just absorbs other organizations. I think they could get away with it, whereas Microsoft has, especially as of recent, they have gone through and cherry-picked companies and just absorbed them. Same thing with Sony. Sony just bought Bungie not too long ago,
right?
Which makes me laugh that they're complaining about Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, and they just bought Bungie, who splintered off, who originally was their own company, got bought by Microsoft, then splintered off from Microsoft, got bought by Activision Blizzard, and then splintered off from Activision Blizzard, and now they're bought by Sony.
Right.
So,
I think it's funny because we talked about this here before. It's you have different big companies are now buying out the rights basically to these different software properties. So it's interesting to kind of see where this all ends up falling. I always go back. The Bethesda deal is a big one for me. Obviously, I mean that was a big acquisition. But at the end of the day, though, it's gonna be kind of hard to see this falling through, just because of that reason of it's you're basically buying. You're a giant movie company buying just a few properties. It's I don't know. I guess it gets to a point though if like this does go through, like this might be the last major one they can buy,
Right.
because otherwise it's just going to be a big problem. I don't know. That's kind of my take on it.
No, I agree. I think that after this, I think after this they'll probably stop trying to collect stones for the Infinity Gauntlet, unless maybe they can get Sega. Because I still think I really think that before the end of fiscal year 2023, Sega's going to sell to somebody.
Yeah, and I would really, for one, I would hope that would be to Nintendo.
Yeah,
Just because that to me that would be like Vince McMahon walking in on Nitro.
yeah. Mario walks into the Sega boardroom. It's a me, kissing my ass.
Exactly. See, why did they hire you instead of Chris Pratt to do the voice?
I don't honestly. All right, real talk. I think he did an okay job. I don't get all the hate for it. I really don't. The only reason I can see any of the hate is because it's Chris Pratt, and apparently America has decided to hate Chris Pratt now.
Okay, I still think he did a better voice.
Look, I will gladly cash that check. Especially if I can curse as Mario.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
It's me, Mario. Suck on my dick. And now we're getting a cease and desist from Nintendo.
That was one of my favorites. The whenever the whole Angry Birds, not Angry Birds, Flappy Bird fiasco happened, and that's still one of my favorite articles I ever read was Mario called and he wants his pipes back.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That really was like, it was so blatant. Once I looked at it, I'm like, why?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, the bird itself looked like a fucked up cheap.
Oh yeah. That was a straight up ripoff.
I was like, oh shit, somebody's getting sued.
Yeah. But all right, so I think we did a good time here. You got anything to close us out with?
Let's see. Fuck the Astros. Go Birds. Ring the bell. And who saw the Sixers sucking and the Flyers being good? Because I certainly didn't.
I don't know, man. That's weird, dude. Last I checked, what are they, 2-4?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I care.
I mean, I do to the extent that they're a Philly team and I want them to do well. They're entertaining. They're actually an entertaining team to watch. Now it's taken a lot to get me back into basketball, and I'm still not a huge fan, but I like it. I like it when
I think the thing that gets me on it is that, I guess the one sport that turned me is being able to see quality college basketball. Because my alma mater, that's where John Morant, who's now basically the best player ever. Well, I won't say ever, but best current player. He went to Murray State, and he's just been obviously amazing. So getting to see him and progress and some of these other people that went through, I get good quality college basketball all the time down here. And I'd rather watch that over the NBA, even ahead of the Sixers, honestly.
No, I mean, that makes sense. I get that.
But I can't say the same for college football or whatever. But I can say the same thing as far as I will always love the Phillies. And one game apiece. Back to the bank.
Damn straight.